Museum of American Art. Do we have anyone out there watching yet? Well, if you're new to joining us, we're located in historic downtown Dover. And since we're not open right now to the public, we are going to be doing our usual Biggs Kids program from inside my apartment. So today we have something new and fun. Usually if you come to the Biggs Museum, we have a Biggs Kids program on our first Saturday where we have different activities for our younger audiences and their parents to do that engages with our artwork and our collection. Today we're trying something a little bit different. We're going to be doing an art activity based around a book. This is actually one of my favorite books. This one is called The North Star by Peter H. Reynolds. And it's a fun story about a little boy starting off on his own journey. So we're going to be reading that and then doing an activity after. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to read the book. And then I'm going to take a quick break so that you can get all of your art supplies if it's not there with you. And then you'll join me in my studio and we'll start making a piece of art based around the illustrations and adventure in this book. So are you guys ready? Yeah? We're going to go ahead and get started. So this is The North Star by Peter H. Reynolds. Again, this is The North Star, written and illustrated by Peter H. Reynolds. It says, a sweet breeze met the boy as he awoke to his journey. He traveled on all fours for quite some time, and he grew. And he paused. One day, he had the urge to stand, to walk. It made his journey easier. He could run too, but for the most part, he walked. He wasn't afraid of much. You see him over there, smelling a flower? He wandered the fields, exploring, sometimes stopping, sometimes going happily in circles, sometimes dancing, and sometimes napping. You see him underneath the tree there, taking a nap? As the boy awoke, one day the boy saw an oak leaf drift and land on the water. He wondered how the leaf managed to float, the way the stars seemed to float in the night sky. A spray of sand interrupted his thoughts. Where are you going in such a hurry? Asked the boy. But the rabbit shot out of sight, disappearing into a path the boy had never noticed before. The boy left the floating leaf and wandered toward the path. There, he saw a cat. The cat purred gently. Where did the rabbit go in such a hurry? The boy asked the cat. He was in a rush to start his journey. It's time for you to start your journey too. Oh, but I have been on a journey, the boy cried. I've seen many wonderful things. Some I understand, and some I don't. Like how that leaf floats on the water. Well, that's fascinating, but I'd hate for you to be late. You don't want to be left behind. Behind? Who's ahead of me? You wouldn't believe how many. You know, you're not the only one on this journey. Plenty ahead of you, lots to follow. Let's see if I can get you. There you go. Little boy and the cat. The boy began walking down the path. It stretched out far ahead of him. Signs kept pointing him along the way. Some parts of the journey were easy, and some were very difficult. Look how hard that bridge is. Little planks are falling out. Although he was following the well-worn path, he had a growing feeling that he was lost. You see that? The sign points both ways. The forest seemed to be growing thicker. The soil was wet and muddy, making every step a struggle. The clouds had rolled in overhead, and the darkness closed in around him. Look, scared. I would feel really alone if the clouds rolled in around me. After many difficult miles, he could not take another step. He noticed an oak leaf drift from the sky. It sailed with ease. It swirled on a breeze and was carried deep into the forest. The leaf disappeared behind a grove of trees. He stepped off the path to follow it. The boy found the leaf floating in a pond in a peaceful clearing, like a delicate boat on a dreamy voyage. His thoughts were interrupted by a voice. "Oh, there you are! I was worried," said the cat. "Don't wander off like that. Now hurry, you're falling behind." So the boy ran and ran and ran, and as he ran, he noticed the forest getting darker and thicker. The muddy ground became covered with water. He could no longer see the path. He sloshed through the swamp until he came to a clearing in the forest. There he saw. What do you think he saw? What do you think he saw? A bird. "You look lost," the bird said. "I don't think so. I mean, I'm not sure if I'm lost," the boy replied. "I hadn't really thought about it." "Hadn't thought about it," said the bird. "You must have some idea of where you're going, yes?" He's sitting on a sign that says this way and points a different way. Oh, poor boy's lost. "Well, I'm following the path. It seems as if many people have taken it before me, and there have been many signs along the way, and a very helpful cat guided me back to the path when I started to wander." The crickets fell silent, and the bird asked, "But where do you want to be going?" "I'm not sure," said the boy as he looked around at the dark, tangled swamp. "But I do know that this isn't where I want to be. I guess I am lost." The bird said, "Ask yourself where it is you want to go, and then follow the signs you already know." "What signs? Where are they?" But the bird flew off into the cloudy night sky. The boy looked up into the sky, something he had not done for a very, very long time. He tried desperately to see where the bird had gone, and as he did, the clouds seemed to melt. And there above him was a star, a very bright star. The boy stared at the star and felt a pang in his heart, a tingling in his spine, a whisper in his ear. He could hear the star. The voice sounded so familiar. The boy began to walk towards the star, and as he did, he noticed many other stars stretched out above him like a great big map. They had been there all along, waiting for him. He stopped and rested a moment, savoring his guiding stars. "What are you staring at?" croaked a voice behind him. "What is up there? What is so interesting?" The boy waited closer and answered, "Stars. I'm looking at the stars." "What stars?" asked the frog. "I see a dark sky and a mist and low green clouds." "You don't see them?" the boy asked. "They're helping guide me out of the swamp. Would you like to come with me?" "No, thank you," the frog smiled. "I'm quite at home here in the bog. I swam here as a tadpole and grew up here, and here I will stay." The boy realized at that moment that everyone has a different journey, different signs, and different stars, their own constellations. The boy left the frog, who croaked a farewell. "Good luck on your journey." You see him waving at the frog over there? As he ventured beyond the swampy forest, the boy heard a cry. It was the rabbit who had been in such a hurry earlier, looking tired and hungry. He was stranded on a limb in the middle of the rushing river. The boy waded out, but realized that the river was too deep. The rabbit was trapped. Then he saw an oak leaf drift by. It gave him an idea. What do you think he's going to do? Does anyone remember what the oak leaf was doing before? The boy fashioned a boat out of swamp grass and twigs and rescued the rabbit. The boy smiled, having helped make the rabbit's journey easier. The boy looked up. He noticed that the star had become even brighter. He followed the star, and as he did, the muddy ground grew drier, then grassy, then soft and sandy. Finally, he came to rest atop a dune. There below him was a beach and a boat. The boy looked out towards the horizon. The star glowed steadily, reminding him that he still had a long journey ahead, but it was his own journey, his very own wonderful journey. The beginning. All right, and that was Peter Reynolds, the North Star. We're going to be making our very own starry sky inspired by those in the North Star. We have a couple supplies you're going to need. They're listed on our page, but in case you need a reminder, we need water, sugar, food coloring, liquid dish soap, a straw, some small bowls, paper, and then a black pen and some crayons to help us make our stars. So first things first, you just want one bowl per color you want in your sky. So today I am going to have 3 colors. Let's go with, I have a red violet, which is like a pinkish purple color. I'm going to use blue because it's a night sky. And I'm going to use pink. I want my sky to be colorful. So first things first, once you have all of your materials, you want to add a little bit of water into your bowl. Now, what we're going to end up doing is blowing bubbles. So you want to make sure that the water isn't way, way down. If you have a big bowl, you want to make sure that you can blow enough bubbles to make them come to the top of the bowl. So think about that as you're pouring your water. So you want to pour your water in. Make sure it's not too close to the top because you do have to stir. And then you're going to add sugar. You want as much sugar as you can put in there in each of the bowls with the water that you can dissolve into the water. So think about it, if you have an adult by you, a 1-to-1 ratio. For the whole amount of water you have, you want that amount of sugar. I have a teaspoon, so I don't put my hand in the jar, but there's no perfect measurement for this. So, you know, feel free, if your parent says yes, to stick your hand in the jar and grab a handful of sugar to put in the water. So what you're going to start doing is you're adding the sugar into your water. Now, the reason we're doing this is the sugar is going to help create sort of a thicker substance. So instead of having it be very, very liquidy water, you're going to have it be a little bit thicker. It's going to help our bubbles hold their shape more. So you just want to add some sugar into the water so that we have nice bubbles that hold their shape. And I'm going to just use my straw and just mix it up. This could take a little while. If you have something with a lid, feel free to shake it. It'll help get all that sugar dissolved. And it's okay if not every part of the sugar is dissolved because we're going to be blowing bubbles. So that's going to help mix in our sugar as well. But you just want to make sure you mix that sugar into the water so that we get those nice big bubbles, and they're going to hold their shape and give us our sort of bubble cloudy look on the page. That's going to come from the sugar. Also, when it dries, I don't think you could see it when I held up my sketchbook there, but the sugar is actually going to give it a little bit of a sparkle when it dries because of the sugar crystals attaching to the page. So you just want to mix all that sugar in. You're mixing and mixing and mixing, and my arm's getting tired, so I'm going to switch, and you're going to mix it still. Feel free to blow bubbles. Maybe that helps get some of that sugar dissolved. Now, once you have most of the sugar dissolved in, what you want to do is then add in your colors. The more color, more food coloring you put into the water, the darker the color on your page is going to be. So if you want like a nice light color, kind of think morning, a nice sunrise happening in your sky, you want only a couple drops of food coloring, maybe like 2 or 3. Now, if you want these darker colors that sort of stand out, you're looking at about 5 to 7 food coloring drops. And so just put in the amount you want, 1 color per container. Now I'm putting in a lot so that you can see it. So it shows up when I put it online, you can see it through the camera. So one more time, if you're just joining us, we have put water in our bowls. We have taken sugar. We've added some sugar in. We've mixed it all up. And we're starting to add in our food coloring to make our night sky. So you want to add in somewhere between 3 and 7 drops of color, depending on how dark you want your sky to be. I'm going a little bit darker so that everyone can see it. Now, once you have your food coloring in, is everyone there? Does everyone have food coloring? Got your sugar, you got your water, you got your food coloring. You want to take your straw again, just kind of mix it up. Make sure all of that food coloring goes throughout. It also gives you another chance to get a little bit of that sugar in there. And when you mix, since we're using the same straw, you want to start with the lighter color. So whatever color is the lightest, you want to mix that first, and then move to the darker colors. All right. So I'm going to move these back. I'm going to also put them on a paper so you can kind of see what's happening. So I'm just moving these onto a paper so you can see what's happening. Otherwise, you might want to do that just to make it so the bubbles don't get everywhere. Now, once you have your water, you've added in sugar, you've added in your food coloring, you've mixed it all up, we're going to add in our soap. So we want nice big bubbles. So what I'm going to do is, instead of telling you how much, we are going to pour in soap for 4 seconds. Are you ready? All right, we're pouring for 1, 2, 3, 4. Now it doesn't matter if your soap is color or if it's clear. You just want to pour it in for 4 seconds. So 1, 2, 3, 4. We want a lot of bubbles. And one more. 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. Are you ready for the fun part? You're going to take your straw. You're going to just swirl that bubble solution around. You're going to blow bubbles. And you want to blow bubbles all the way until they're coming out of your container. Now, once those bubbles come out of your container, you take your paper and you just press it on there. Let me get a little bit more going. You just press it right on there. And you can sort of start to see on mine, I have some bubbles, I have a little bit of color. I'm going to start with a darker one so it shows up better. So once everything's mixed, I'm taking my straw and I'm going to blow bubbles until they're coming out of the top of my container. Now, when you're blowing bubbles, make sure you take a deep breath in and then blow out through the straw. So once you have a lot, you press them on, and even you can blow your bubbles with the paper on it, which is what I'm going to do. So you see how I start to get bubbles and color up on my paper? So you just want to do that with all of your different colors. And what's really important is you want to blow all the bubbles and then put it down on top, and then pick it up and blow bubbles and put your paper down. You want to make sure your paper doesn't move. Otherwise, you're just going to get a swirl of colors. You're not going to get those big fluffy clouds. A little bit more. All right, so everyone see what's happening? You're starting to get all of those different colors. You're starting to get your bubble shapes happening. Now, my favorite part, make sure it's not in someone's face. You take it and you blow the bubbles off. And you get the pattern. So you can do that as much as you want. I'm going to do a couple more. And you make your night sky that way. So I'm going to do a couple more, get us a little bit more color happening. to get some purple. And then blow the bubbles off. Now make sure you don't blow it into anyone's face, and you have your night sky. Does everyone have a night sky started? Is this showing up for everyone? Getting your cool little cloud patterns happening. Now, once you have a sky, and if you still want to blow bubbles, feel free. I'm just going to do the next part so everyone knows what we're doing. Once you have the sky done, and you like the way it looks, we're going to draw some stars. And now these can go anywhere. They don't have to go anywhere specific. It's wherever you want your guiding stars to be. I'm going to take my black pen, and I'm going to pick a couple spots. Now, stars can be drawn any way you want. You have a few different options. Ones I really like are just a couple lines. They don't even touch. Can everyone see that? It doesn't even need 5 points. You can do 3. You can draw a little circle. If you're really fancy, you draw a triangle, and instead of closing it, you draw a triangle sideways, and then you make the points meet. You can also make a really tall point, and then turn your paper, make a really tall point, and turn your paper, make a really tall point. You guessed it, turn your paper. Make a really tall point. And then in each of these little corners, make a little point. So all of this is to say there's tons of different types of stars you can make. My personal favorites are these. I really just like the little lines. Nice, simple. So what you want to do is you want to draw your stars anywhere you want on your paper and on your night sky. They're your guiding stars. There's no wrong way to do it. It's wherever you think a couple stars should be in your night sky. You can have 1 star. You can have 100 stars. You can have 2 stars. Maybe it's just 2 little stars hanging out up there. And not all of your stars need to have a line. Some of your stars, if you can see that, can just be little squiggles. They can just be, there we go. They can just be little squiggles. So once you have a couple stars on there that you like, you want to go through your crayons. I'm going to use yellow. You can use orange, you can use green. You can use whatever colors you want your stars to be. I'm going to use my little broken yellow crayon, and I'm going to color around my star. So I'm not coloring in the shape I made. I'm coloring around it. Sometimes it's just squiggles. Sometimes I try a little bit harder, but I color just around my shape, just adding a little bit of yellow so that I know there's stars. And then I'm just going to add a couple more little dots in my night sky. Maybe I want another one with a line. You can do whatever you want. I'm going to put one more down here. So you can do whatever you want. Not all of your stars need to have yellow. Maybe some are just lines. Maybe there's some little yellow squiggles in your night sky. And you create your night sky. Or your night sky. And you can do as many of these as you want. Different colors that you put in your food coloring are going to change how your sky looks. The longer you hold it over your color while blowing bubbles, the darker they're going to be. And it's just really important that you make sure you don't wipe off the paper, that you blow the bubbles off, but not in anyone's face. Please don't blow the bubbles in anyone's face. That's not nice. So that is our night sky. I hope that gives you some fun to do. As I said, you can do as many skies as you want. You could even, if you change the colors, use the same technique to make an ocean and add in little fish, maybe some dolphins, maybe a mermaid, anything you want, maybe a shark, some jellyfish. And this is just a really fun technique that you can do with simple at-home materials and have a lot of fun. So I want to thank everyone for joining us for our Biggs Kids Interactive this month. I hope everyone is still having a good time at home, and we hope to have you all back at the museum doing some of these activities in person with us really soon. Thanks for joining me.